Good afternoon, everyone. I am Teacher Joy, and the lesson I'm going to start with, and at the same time, impart with you, is all about the media and cyber or digital literacies. Now, at the end of this lesson, you should be able to develop a working understanding of media and cyber or digital literacy and how they relate to one another. Appreciate the importance of developing media and cyber or digital literacy both in ourselves and one another in the information age, and realize that practical steps must be taken to develop these literacies early in children and cannot wait until they are older. So, never ever have been so much information, no? Just like it is nearly every form imaginable, from nearly every source imaginable, that is available to us 24 hours a day, no? So, okay, but before we continue or before we start with our discussion, uh, I've prepared an energizing activity for you. So, familiar man siguro kamo sa 4 picks, 1 word, and wordscape, no? So, kini nga activity is a combination of two. You need to guess that one word hint. That one word, this one word is a significant topic. Is a significant topic of this lesson as we go through with our discussion. Now, I'm gonna give you 10 seconds, and then you guess, and then you spill your answer. Okay, now go. It's your time to think. Okay, now you spill your answers. Okay, and the answer is media. No, very good to those na naka-correct sa answer. And then, bawi na lang next live ang wala naka-correct. Okay, how about this one? Hint, significant topic again as we go through with our discussion. Okay, I'm gonna give you the time. Okay, now you spill your answers. And the answer is cyber. Okay, very good. So, naka-correct. And bahaw na lang gap again sa next life ang wala naka-correct. Okay, so media literacy. Media literacy education begin in the United States and United Kingdom, no? As the start of, or as a result of a war propaganda in the 1930s. Now, media literacy can be defined in a various ways, no? So now, I have here the basic definitions of the media literacy. Media literacy is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and communicate messages in which variety of forms. Media literacy is the ability to access, to analyze, to evaluate, and create messages across a variety of contexts. And a term used by modern scholars to refers to a process of critically analyzing and learning to create one's own message in print, audio, video, and multimedia. So, but before that, guys, media has different types, no? Okay, so for example, print media. Sa print media, this is a form where it can be written, no? Diri na includes ang books, ang newspapers, magazines. On the other hand naman, ang broadcast media, di na nabilang ang television and ang radio. No? And now, since we're in the 21st century, there is a new media, which is the online media. No? So as you can see guys, media literacy is the expanded concept, no, that includes the ability to access and analyze, no, access and analyze media message, as well as to create message and take actions with the use by the power of information and communication to make a difference in the world. That is the media literacy. There is an access, there is a means of communication. That is a media literacy.
So hi everyone, I am Junaima Biasis. One of our group member give you an idea about the media literacy. It's not surprise us that some of our scholars and educators has been debating on how media literacy should be both defined and taught. Even in Off Their Head 1993 and House 1998 in their report at the 1993 Media Literacy National Leadership Conference that some of the educators in US are not agree on the range of appropriate goals for media education or the scope of appropriate instructional techniques. However, there are five essential concepts necessarily for any analysis of media message. According to the conference, the first one is the media message are constructed. No? So what this is mean? No? So when we say media message are constructed, no, means that it has been assembled by someone. The key behind this is figuring out who constructed the message, out of what material and to what effect. No? In other words, this is the those behind literacy, who is the person making these commercials, who it is the responsible. So the second one is a media message as produced within an economy, socials, politicals, historicals, and aesthetic context. No? So you have to identify if the media message is all about the economic or in socials, politicals, historical, or in aesthetic. So you have to figure out what those media means all about. So the third one is interpretative meaning. So making process involving in message receptions concept of an interaction between reader, the text, and the culture. So as an individual, we decide on how to interpret the text based on our personal biases, no, worldview, and expectation. So we have different perspectives that interpret the same pieces of media very differently, that create confusion and misunderstanding. So what we need to do is trying to set aside our biases and preconceptions so that we more likely get with what the message is actually trying to see. So media has unique languages characterized with typify various forms, genres, and symbol system of communication. So media message has its meanings. Now you have to know the creative techniques that being used to message to grab attention. This may the colors, shape, the symbols, and so we have to understand the grammars. For the example is the metaphor. We had to creative. What's that mean? What's that text means? No. Media representation free roles in people understanding of social realities. No. Media really influence the thought, manners, and the way we live in the society, because nowadays we mainly believe on in information coming from different types of media We believe it without even assuming if it what we heard is fact or just merely a humor. We believe in information that doesn't have a certain evidence and we easily influenced by media. These are also things from the media that we usually use every day, like the way we talk and the way we act. So every particular media has its intended purpose of communication. So it depends on the audience on how they absorb the information they are gain, they learn. It depends on the audience on how she or he understand social reality. So here are the list of action that we are often mistaken for being the representation of media literacy. So the first one is criticizing the media is not in and of itself media literacy. However, media literate sometimes require that one indeed criticize that one sees and heard. Example of this is bashing. No, bash and criticize are both mean of expressing of disapproval. So the second one is merely producing media is not media literacy, although part of being media literacy is the ability to produce media. No? So when we say media literacy, it means that encompasses the practices that allow the people to access, critically evaluates, or create manipulating media. So before we can call it media literacy, it will first undergo to the right procedures. Even one will already as media literacy, it will he or she must follow its rules and regulation. Teaching with media, videos, presentation, etc. does not equal media literacy. And educations in media literacy must also including teaching about media. So an education in media literacy must also involve teaching about media. So that means teaching such as teaching videos, presentation and other does not mean it is in media literacy. It should also explore the nature and influences of media and media message in our culture. So the part one is the viewing media and analyze it from a single perspective is not media literacy. True media literacy, both ability and willingness to view and analyze media from multiple positions and perspectives. So, from its definition itself, you must think and evaluate critically. Evaluating, it's not just your view of or a study it at once, but before you can evaluate something, you have to study it many times or you have to know it better before conclude something. A single perspective is not enough to conclude because media literacy requires both the ability and willingness to view and analyze media from multiple perspectives. The last one, media literacy does not simply mean knowing what and what not to watch. It doesn't mean watch carefully, think carefully. So,
Good day, everyone. I am Charmaine Tikagais, and our topic is about media and cyber or digital literacies, Module 5. And I am going to tackle the challenges to media literacy education. But before that, I will again define what media literacy is and what is media literacy when it comes to education.
Media literacy, in its simplest term, can be defined as the ability to identify different types of media and understand the process they are communicating. The following are the exact types of media. First, we have the television, radio, newspapers, magazines, books, handouts, flyers, and etc. All these types of media seems to vary, but what they all have in common is that they are all created by someone, and that someone had a reason or purpose for creating them. So now, what is media literacy when it comes to education? Teaching with the use of media like the videos, presentation, and etc. are only some sort of teaching strategies or teaching tools which the teacher utilize to make his or her lessons be more interesting, but it does not equal media literacy. Why? Because an education in media literacy must also include teaching about media and not only using media as a tool for teaching. That's why we have here challenges to media literacy education. One obvious challenge to teaching media literacy is how do we teach it? Or how are we going to teach media literacy in a classroom discussion? So teaching media literacy as a subject in itself might not be feasible given how overburdened the curriculum is at the moment. And if we are to integrate media literacy into the subjects that are currently being taught in school, then it might not be enough to teach what are essentially media consumption habits. And what are these media consumption habits? So this includes activities such as interacting to new media, reading books and magazines, watching television and films, and even listening to radios. And these kinds of activities of media literacy needed a skills and activity, needed a skills and attitude, which can be learned more by doing or having hands-on rather than by only classroom discussion. Another pernicious challenges facing in the 21st century education, as Livingstone and Van der Graaf identified how to measure media literacy and evaluate the success of media literacy initiatives. Given a simple reason that if teachers cannot measure the presence of media literacy in their students in terms of skills and competencies, and also in terms of how literate and illiterate a student is when it comes to the new media, then how are they going to know that they actually taught the students? So, a more fundamental challenge to media literacy education, according to Chris and Potter, is media literacy best understood as a means of inoculating or injecting students against the potential harms of the media, or is it understood as a means of enhancing their appreciation of the literary merits of the media? In some ways, we cannot tell, but both statements might happen. Thus considering uh, thus considering it as a fundamental challenge. So now we will know what digital literacy is. Digital literacy can be defined as the ability to locate, evaluate, and communicate information on various digital platforms. So what are examples of digital platforms? So these are social media and other media sharing platforms. Digital literacy is the cognitive and sociological skills needed to perform tasks and solve problems in digital environments. So it evolves only in digital. Also, digital literacy finds its origin in information and computer literacy. And digital literacy, also called electronic literacy or cyber literacy. And the word literacy has always something to do with reading a text with understanding, given that there are many kinds of text and each one requires specific set of skills to understand and make meaning out of it. So, how is it called digital literacy? If we say that literacy is reading a text with understanding and digital are more on digital environment. Well, still there is no difference. There is an integration between digital and literacy, since text nowadays can actually be used in images, in sounds, video, music, or a combination thereof. Thus, digital literacy and literacy has no difference at all. So, the following are the skills and competencies listed by Shapiro and Hags in a curriculum wherein they envision to promote computer literacy. That computer literacy should sound very familiar to the readers today. First is tool literacy, the, competence using hardware and software tools. Next, we have the resource literacy. It is the understanding of forms and the access to information resources. Third one is social structural literacy. It is the understanding of the production and social significance of information. And fourth one, research literacy, using of information technology tools for research. Next, we have publishing literacy. It is the ability to communicate and publish information. Next is the emerging technologies literacy. It is the understanding of the new development in information technology or IT. The last one is critical literacy. This critical literacy doesn't mean about critical thinking. This means that it is the ability to evaluate the benefits of the new technologies. Digital literacy and media literacy. It should also come as no surprise that digital literacy shares a great deal of overlap with media literacy. Digital literacy as a subset of media literacy, dealing particularly with media in digital form. So, their connection is fairly obvious. If media literacy is the ability to identify different types of media and understand the messages they are communicating, then digital literacy can be seen as media literacy applied to the digital media. So, there is a combination between digital and media. So lastly, we already talked about digital literacy. So now we will find out when can we say that a person is digital literate. A digitally literate person is one having skills at deciphering and understanding the meanings of images, sounds, the subtle use of words. Digital literacy is the ability to understand and use information in multiple formats from a wide range of sources when it is presented via computers because it is digital. Which means to say that a person must not only acquire the skill of finding things, but he or she must also acquire the ability to use these things in life. So that's all for my part, and my co-reporters will discuss the next topic. Thank you and good morning, everyone.
Good day everyone. I am Felicity V. Batoon and I will be tackling about the skills and competencies comprising digital literacies. Bowden, in 2008, collated the skills and competencies comprising digital literacies from contemporary scholars in the matter into four main groups, namely underpinnings, background knowledge, central competencies, and attitudes and perspectives. So first, we will talk about the underpinnings. This refers to those skills and competencies that supports and enable everything else within digital literacies, namely the traditional literacies and computer or ICT literacies. So, when we say traditional literacies, this refers to such skills as, example is the three main R's, which are the reading, writing, and the arithmetic. And when we say computer or ICT literacies, this mainly means about the ability to use computers in everyday life. So next is the background knowledge. This largely refers to knowing where information on a particular subject or topic can be found, how information is kept, and how it is disseminated. A skill taken for granted back in the day when information almost exclusively resided in a form of printed text. So going back, the underpinnings gives the basic skill sets which must be present, together with the background knowledge which gives the necessary understanding of the way in which digital and non-digital information is created and communicated, and of the various forms of resources which result. So next is the central competencies. These are the skills and competencies that a majority of scholars agree on as being core to digital literacies today. So competencies are basically those elements of digital literacy proposed by Gilster in 1997, namely the reading and understanding digital and non-digital formats, creating and communicating digital information, evaluation of information, knowledge assembly, information literacy, and the media literacies. So, attitude and perspective. Bowden suggests that it is these attitudes and perspective that link digital literacy today with traditional literacy, saying it is not enough to have skills and competencies, they must be grounded in some moral framework, specifically independent learning and moral or social literacy. So going deeper, what is independent learning or the moral or social literacy? So independent learning is the initiative or the ability to learn whatever is needed for a person's specific situation, while moral or social literacy is an understanding of correct, acceptable, and sensible behavior in a digital environment. So attitudes and perspectives reflects the ultimate purpose of digital literacy to help each person learn what is necessary for their for what is necessary for their particular situation, with an understanding of sensible and correct behavior in the digital environment. So next, let's talk about the information literacy within digital literacy. So Ishet Alkalai in 2004 draws attention to information literacy as a critical component of digital literacy. So according to him, information literacy is the cognitive skills that consumers use to evaluate information in an educated and effective manner. So, also, information literacy acts as a filter by which consumers evaluate the accuracy of the information being presented to them via digital media, and thereupon sort the incorrect or the erroneous, irrelevant, and biased from what is demonstratively accurate or true. So from this perspective, Efforts of digital literacy education should be developing media consumers who think critically and ready to doubt the quality of the information they receive, even if the information comes from the so-called authoritative resources. When we say authoritative resources, it is the work known to be reliable because its authority or authenticity is widely recognized by experts. Example to this is our government websites or some well-known TV programs like ABS-CBN or GMA News or whatsoever. However, a majority of studies on information literacy seems to concentrate more on the ability to search for information rather than its cognitive aspects. That's all for my report. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Russell Jane Isbungo, and today we will tackle about the socio-emotional literacy within digital literacy. So first, what is socio-emotional literacy? These skills include the ability not only to share formal knowledge but also to share emotions by means of digital communication, to identify pretentious people in chat rooms, and to avoid internet traps such as hoaxes and malicious internet virus. So due to the unlimited use of technology, a lot of people enjoy it. Like us, di ba? Enjoy na enjoy tayo sa paggamit nito, and other use it to fool others. Hindi natin maiiwasang mapatanong minsan like, siya nga kaya tong kausap ko? Is this legit? If I donate via online, mapupunta nga kaya to sa kanila? Or if binuksan ko kaya tong file na to, wala ba tong virus? Ishit Alkalay 2004 highlights a kind of socio-emotional literacy needed to navigate the internet, raising questions such as, how do I know if another user in a chat room is who he says he is? Or how do I know if a call for blood donation on the internet is real or not? So, such questions should make us realize that there are no hard and fast of determining the answers. Instead, there is a necessary familiarity with the unwritten rules of cyberspace, an understanding that while the internet is a global village of sorts, it is also a global jungle of human communication, embracing everything from truth to falsehood, honesty and deceit, and ultimately good and evil. Kaya tulad nga ng lagi nilang sinasabi sa atin na di lahat ng nakikita natin sa internet ay totoo. Because some are false and deceitful. That's why socio-emotional literacy requires us to be very critical, analytical, and be mature. Very critical. We should be very critical before believing in the information, especially from social media, to prevent misconcepts and misunderstanding. Analytical, or we should first check or look for facts before believing and deciding to prove it. And socio-emotional literacy also requires us to be mature. So, digital literacy involves more than the more ability to use software or operate a digital device. It includes a large variety of complex cognitive, motor, sociological, and emotional skills, which users need in order to function effectively in digital environment. So digital literate users know how to find the traps as well as derive benefits from the advantages of digital communication. It involves sociological and emotional aspects of perks in cyberspace, or alam ng isang taong digital literate kung paanong maiiwasan ang mabitag sa mga maling impormasyon o sa mga manluloko, at alam din nila ang benefits at advantages nito. Now, how does socio-emotional literacy helps us? As we engage in cyberspace, so we have here 5 on how the socio-emotional literacy helps us. First, it helps us to share formal knowledge. Second, it helps us to share emotions by means of digital communication such as using emoticons and emojis. Now, we share what we feel through emoticons. And di ba, nagkakaintindihan tayo through these emojis. Number three, it helps us to have empathy toward each other. So, sociological and emotional lit, kaya alam natin how to give empathy when someone posts a sad picture, then we react sad. Or di kaya kapag may namatayan, we comment condolences. Or kaya may nakita tayong humihingi ng tulong through internet or through social media, 'di ba? Di man natin ma-help through financially or di man tayo makapunta sa kanila, at least we can share. We can share it, 'di ba? Para marami ring makakita. So yun, it helps us to give empathy towards others. Number 4, it helps us to collaborate. And lastly, number 5, it helps us to identify pretentious people in chat rooms and avoid internet traps such as malicious internet viruses. Tulad ng sabi ko kanina, socio-emotional literate users requires to be very critical, analytical, and mature. Kaya naman, it helps us to prevent traps. So, magiging mapagmatsyag tayo, magiging wise, magiging critical sa mga traps. We look only for traps. And that's all for the socio-emotional literacy within digital literacy. And now, we move to digital natives. Digital natives. Native speakers of the digital language of computer, video games, and the internet. Our students have changed radically. Today's students are no longer the people our educational system was designed to teach. It is to be said by Mark Prensky. Prensky feels that is a huge discontinuity between our generation and our teachers' generation. So, today's students are no longer the people our educational system was designed to teach. So, digital immigrants, people who were not born into the digital world but who are fascinated by it and who have adopted some and most aspects in the new technology. So, digital immigrants, those are people who weren't born in the digital generation and are struggling or slightly fascinated by the technology era. So, problem in education. Digital immigrant structures who speak the outdated language of the pre-digital age are struggling to teach a population that speaks an entirely new language. Considering the characteristics, problem arises when the digital immigrant teachers assume that learners are the same as they have always been, and that the same methods that work for the teachers when they were students will work for the students too. Digital natives receive information really fast, prefer graphics before text, function best when work, prefer games to serious work, have little patience for lectures, step-by-step logic, have a library on their laptops, used to the instantaneity of hypertext, use instant messaging. There are two kinds of content. First, legacy content. Legacy content is the term given to content from an earlier game included among the resources of a later one using the same engine, despite not being used. In many cases, this content is not meant for the settling of the later game or is a remnant from other or deleted sources. So, legacy content includes reading, writing, arithmetic, logical thinking, understanding, and writings on the ideas of the past, all of our traditional curriculum. While future content, when you think of the conjoined worlds of media and technology, there's a lot of ground to cover. In its special report, The Future of Content, Variety Intelligence platform of forward-looking, data-fueled exploration of the key issues and trends every sector of these intersecting industries. So future content includes the software, hardware, robotics, nanotechnology, genomics, and etc. So legacy content, the legacy traditional curriculum, reading, writing, arithmetic, logical thinking, while future content is digital technological content, software, hardware, robotics, genomics, and etc. Plus ethics, politics, sociologies, languages, and etc. Why is content important? Educators need to be thinking how to teach both legacy and future content in the language of digital natives. Legacy content involves the major translation and change or methodology. Future content involves legacy content along with new content and thinking.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Eric James Ryan Isborha, and for my part, it tackles about the challenges to digital literacy education. Now, first, what is digital literacy? As we know, we have already encountered this in our previous reporter. It tackles about the media and digital literacy. No, so digital literacy is a subset of media literacy. Digital literacy is a use of media but in digital forms. Now we have here definitions of digital literacy by Paul Gister. It said that it is the ability to understand and use information in multiple formats from a wide range of sources when it is presented via computers. So as a person, no, in order for us to considered as digital literate person, so we must have this ability, no, ability to understand and use information in multiple formats, no, such as Google, no, and other online platforms from wide range of sources like internet when it is presented via computers. But today we know that digital literacy are no longer limited on computers, no, but we can access digital, no, or use digital in forms of smartphone, no. So that is the definitions of digital literacy for Paul Gelster. Now I have here a statement says that digital literacy education shares many of the same challenges to media literacy. So when we say digital literacy education, no, it is also the same with media literacy. No, the challenges of digital literacy is the same with media literacy, in which, as what we have said earlier, no, digital literacy is a subset of media literacy. Now, both of these literacy of educations have also the same questions, no. So we have these questions like how should it be taught, no, how should it be taught to our students, no. So that is also one of the challenges for digital and media literacy education, no? And also the another one question is how can it be measured and evaluated. And the last one is should it be taught for the protections of students or to develop their appreciations for digital media. So that is one also the challenges for implementing the media and digital literacy in the curriculum of education, no? Because some other perspective that um, media and digital are harmful to the um, security of students for their um, consumptions of information through online social platforms. And also some other ideas is that it is a big help, no? the digital and media are big help towards the students for their um, um, more sources, no, mag-gather sila another valuable sources, no, like Google, no? So that is also some other perspective towards um, the media and digital literacy. Now, according to Brown 2017, he noted that despite the global acknowledgements that digital literacy education is a need, there is as of yet no overarching model or framework for addressing all of the skills deemed necessary. So there are no such as global acknowledgement, no, between or for digital literacy education that is deemed to be necessary, no, for the uh, curriculum that is taught for the students. Now we have here the way to enhance digital literacy education, although it is not being acknowledged globally. But as a future educator, we can enhance digital literacy education even in our own way. Now, literacy education even in our own way. Now, the first one is teach media and digital literacy integrally. So when we say teach media and digital literacy integrally, so we as a teachers must provide an opportunity for our students, no, to develop critical thinking skills, no? So let's say when we are going to give them a task like um, we provide them an advertisement and require them to decipher the message of that advertisement, no? So this one the way that as a teachers we can enable them to develop their critical thinking skills, no, with the use of digital literacy. The next one is master your subject matter. So your whatever your teaching is, no, you must not only limit your teaching professions as by knowing only the subject matter. As a teacher, you must also know why you are teaching this subject matter or the importance of this subject matter and why it is also important for the students to learn. So that is must one of the things that we as a future teachers, in order for enhance the digital literary education, we must also master our subject matter or the subject matter we are going to um, tackle towards our teaching process. And the third one is think multidisciplinary, no? So in this case, we teachers must also examine our students to determine what is unacceptable for them or not acceptable to them, because we as a teachers are aiming for the goodness and effective teaching and learning process, and that we must think multidisciplinary in a multidisciplinary way. And the fourth one is explore motivation, not just message. So as a teachers, we must not only limit to how we um, required our students to decipher this message, no, as what I have given example, as what my given example, no, the no, as we give tasks to our students and let them decipher the message of that advertisement, we should also give them the opportunity to reflect the message that they will uh, decipher or learn from that advertisement. And also we must also give them the opportunity to apply those messages um, in their real life, no, some sort of applications, no. And the last one is leverage skills that students already have it. So as a future teachers, no, it is also one the thing that we can take advantage, no, like some sort of taking advantage towards the students for their for where they are good and must and how do you call that, excelled in area, no? Let's say for example, your students are good in math and they love to solving math problems. Then as a teachers, you should also provide them a lot of tasks that are more on problem solving, so that it is a win-win situation. And that is all for my part for the challenges of digital literacy education and how we can enhance digital literacy educations even in our own way.